Hey guys, welcome back to another Workshop Wednesday. Today's video features photo collaging. For this project, you will need a pair of scissors, a glue stick, paper, and some scrap material such as old magazines, catalogs, photos, and just about any material you can find around your home. There are so many great ways you may find you are able to make a collage, one form being where artists use technology to create what are called digital photo collages, but today we're working with real hands-on materials, which is known as analog photo collaging. The exciting thing about working with real hands-on materials is that you can use just about any type of paper material, but you can also go further than just paper. If you find that you can glue it, you can most likely use it, and that goes for 3D objects as well. For this project, I'm going to be picking out some of my favorite images from a stack of National Geographic magazines that I've been holding onto for a while. I've already read through them and remember seeing some great photos, so I figured now's the time to take what I can to create some new art. For my first step, I'm going to focus on my background. For this, you can use a full page image from a magazine to get you started, or use a good solid colored paper such as printer paper, cardstock, or construction paper. If you spot anything you like or think could be useful, go ahead and carefully rip out the page. For the collages I'm working on, I'll be using people as my main subjects. A great thing about collaging is that you can make new worlds and even stories from the objects and images you put together. For me, personally, I love a good science fiction story with adventure and unheard of places, so today you will find that I'll be making some beautiful, unthought of worlds and scenes. A quick tip when cutting is to always be sure to check the other side of the page to make sure you didn't miss something that may be a better option for you. Sometimes just the thing you're looking for may be right on the other side. Once you're ready to use or select the images you've chosen, take a pair of scissors and carefully cut around the edges of your object. I save this part once I've collected a good amount of options, that way I'm not spending a lot of time cutting an image I may find I don't want to use after all. Take it slow, especially if it has a lot of ridges or details on the edges. If you're looking to cut your object out more specifically, there's also the option of using an artist's X-Acto knife if you have one available. However, please do not skip the important step of asking your parents for permission and assistance before touching one. As you flip through the pages of your magazines, keep an eye out for subjects that can help bring your collage together. For example, if your background is something underwater, try looking for fish or maybe boats, even if they're not realistic. Something you may find challenging when collaging may be that you might not always find what you're looking for. For example, this wave and surfboard I put together, I tried to find a realistic surfer-like character, but I couldn't find one. So I used this as a creative challenge where I used this baby instead, and a few tiny soldiers. Not realistic, but pretty funny and creative. Collaging is a great way to exercise your imagination by using what you have available. After some time collecting pieces you feel you're ready to use, take the time to place your images down on a background. Here are some of the full page backgrounds that I collected. As you start to place pieces down, pay attention to what might work well with your background, your middle ground, and your foreground. Most likely, your small objects will look better in the back like they're far away, and the large ones in the front like they're close up. You may have an idea in your head, but once they're all laid down, it might not look like what you're expecting. Take the time to do one of the most important steps in collaging, which is to rearrange over and over until you find that your placement is just right. As I was working on this specific collage, I wasn't too thrilled or amazed by just the full image background I had ready to go, So instead, I cut away the ground as best as I could and combined it with a starry galaxy, which in my opinion makes it way more interesting. This part isn't necessary but could be helpful. You can take a sheet of spare paper and help smooth out what you've just glued, and you can also use a pair of scissors to cut the edges to make them nice and clean. I happen to have a paper cutter, so I use that instead. So for this piece, I really wanted to use the girl in the blue dress with a lantern. I also had some fish and I'm not sure what else, but it just didn't look great. So at the end of this path, I was thinking to include a doorway, and this is the only one I could find. I wanted to make it look like this was either like a doorway to another world, or maybe a doorway she just came out of. So I tried to find an unlikely background for my door. I went with this image of an underwater aquarium with some fish that is not realistic for a doorway, but it would be really interesting if that were possible. Since all I had so far was my character and doorway, I thought I should look around my magazines again just to see if there's anything I could add to the empty space like my sky. I found these moons and I couldn't just pick one, so I went with 3. I also found this image of a house on a hill, and since I really like the idea of floating land, I went ahead and made it look like it was a piece of broken off land that was just floating out in space with a house on it. You can't see it very well, but I also added a small little mouse at the bottom just because I really like the idea of a little animal sidekick, and this is what my piece turned out like. For my second piece, instead of using an image for a background, I'm using a solid colored rectangle. Since her hand is out, I wanted to make it look like she was holding something. To keep it simple yet still interesting, I'm using this holographic paper. I cut out a pocket in the fold of her hand and just tucked it in. Not every collage has to have a lot going on, so try looking for maybe 3 to 4 pieces that you can assemble together. For my third collage, I yet again cut away a piece of land and combined it with a starry sky. I found this close-up image of a bee, which makes it look pretty large, so I thought it'd be fun to make it look like it was from outer space coming for this little girl's flowers. If you feel that putting together a whole image is just a little too challenging, the best way to start is to maybe take 2 faces, even if they're of different sizes, and just try swapping out their main parts like the eyes, nose, and their mouth. Again, it's probably not going to look realistic, but you can get some really funny things and just have fun with it. If you're ever looking to give a funny gift, just make one of these mismatched faces and put it on a card. And that's it for this video. Have fun collaging! Thank you so much for joining me today. Be sure to share your art using hashtag IMASartists. To learn more and to support us, visit the imasonline.org.